One of the ways for you to think about ideation and to create bigger breakthroughs is to use one of the lessons called Creating New Market Space by two professors from INSEAD, the European Business School, based in Fontainebleau, France. Professors Kim and Mauborn, who you see here, they are famous for their book on blue ocean strategy, really a thesis that says you should compete where there's less competition. Go to the blue ocean, not where the red bloody ocean of swirling sharks is already kicking up chump. Before they came up with that book, they published an article in a Harvard Business Review about creating new market space. It's really the foundation of blue ocean strategy, but it's very narrow as a technique that you can use, and I highly recommend it. You can download the PDF for the Harvard Business Review article. It's in the public domain now. Let me give you an example. This is a conventional hospital incubator, typically used for premature babies or an infant that's exposed to some kind of environmental condition and needs to be protected and often needs to mature a little bit before it's ready for the outside world. Familiar, right? Well, its factors, this is how we think about market space, the desirability factors, to use that language, can be mapped from high to low across this horizontal axis. They are, is it affordable? Is it accessible? Is it mobile? How easy is it to use? Does it require power? And does it provide a monitoring feature? Those are some of the major features of an incubator in a Western hospital today. And you'll see that it's not very affordable. It's also not very accessible. You basically have to be in the ICU or the maternity ward to have access to this thing. It's mobile, it's on wheels, but it's plugged into the wall. It ain't going too far. It's not easy to use. You are a trained registered nurse or a medical practitioner to be able to use the thing, partly because it's a high-power instrument that is very close, very sophisticated monitoring device. Now, what if you've got a different use case? What if you've got a different context? Same needs, different market, new context. See this incubator? What's wrong with this picture? That's what an incubator looks like if you go to Haiti after a hurricane. Immediately disused and thrown into a back room. Why? Because the technology is irreparable when you're in an economy that can't produce the component parts. When you're in an economy that at times, due to environmental conditions, doesn't have power. So here's what they use for an incubator. You see the baby in there? Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. That's a baby in an aluminum foil blanket, probably made out of legit aluminum foil, in a cardboard box with the medical caution that says, baby in here. Don't throw out the baby. The point is, that's an incubator that works in those conditions, as primitive as it is. If the only requirement for survival is to maintain the baby's body heat, this thing will do in a pinch, and the most sophisticated incubator from a hospital system will not. Let me explain to you how a solution to this challenge was done by a really clever design team. They looked in this economy and said, what are the technologies that this economy can make work? And what they found was they had an amazing capacity to keep their cars running, despite the fact that they might not have paved roads, despite the fact that the economics meant that the cars were way past their sell-by date. What they had built was a complete infrastructure to maintain, in particular, the Toyota RAV4. So this design team took this ubiquitous sport utility vehicle and deconstructed it. And they found these components. There's a battery, there's a windshield, there's an electric fan, there's wiring, there's sensors. And they concluded that they could use only the components from a RAV4 to produce a functional incubator, one that didn't require continuous electric power, one that didn't provide certainly all the features of heavy monitoring that you'd find in a Western incubator, but one that could regulate the body temperature for a premature infant, for example. It's called the Neo-Nurture, the car parts incubator, and it won a huge design award in 2010. This is a supply-side solution where a team of people said, we understand the need in context, user needs, market context, and they found the technologies capable of solving in context. putting it on the new market space chart, let's compare the neo-nurture to the traditional hospital incubator. You can see it doesn't cost nearly as much. It's more accessible. You can move it quite readily. Look at the size of the wheels on the thing. And, it's like a wheelbarrow. You could wheel it over hills and mountains if you had to. So it's much more mobile. It's easier to use. It does require power, but it's battery power that's rechargeable. So it's literally using a car battery. It's kind of heavy. And it does have monitoring, but it's a much simplified version of monitoring, even significantly. I mean, you can use it primarily for regulating body temperature. A traditional hospital incubator has many, many more monitors on things like blood pressure and heart function, et cetera.